Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pathwaves Facebook Live. With me is Elaine Goodlad. Say hi, Elaine.
Hi, how's everybody?
I just want to say, I met Elaine back in 2009. She was 12. No.
Thank you.
It was basically in the beginnings of Pathways, and back then we called the company Brain Training Centers of Florida because we focused on neurofeedback in the brain. We've just come a long way. And yes, and Elaine was referred to us and called me up and said, how many sessions do you think I need? And I said, well, based on our conversation, I think you need 20. And, Elaine was telling me that she is a mentor at that time, a mentor to a lot of women. She still is, and was a fitness athlete and had a lot of people that followed her. And she was always on stage and always performing. And yet inside she felt empty and hollow and depression. I mean, had a hard time sleeping, and it was just really, really hard to handle. And so, somebody who knew her well said, you got to go see Jeff Cole at the Brain Training Centers of Florida. And so she was in Las Vegas at that time, called me up and said, all right, how many do I need? And I said, well, 20. She says, well, I got about 8 days. I'm like, okay, that's kind of, tough. I said, she's like, well, I did the math. I do 3 a day and I'm good. And I'm like, this is a huge, huge work on your nervous system, on your neural pathways. I mean, this is life-changing stuff. You can't do 20 sessions. You can't do 3 a day for a whole week. And Elaine says to me, I am a fitness athlete, one of the best in the world. I can handle anything. I'm like, sounds great.
Oh, that is about how it went down.
And so Elaine came in, and I have to tell you, I looked at her original mind map, and I went over it with Elaine, and I was able to show her why and where the depression came from and what area of her brain's right of whack, and outline what we were going to do over the next 7 days. And amazing. This woman is amazing. I have to tell you, she's really a testament to a person who has the will to do well, the will to help people, the will to be a mentor, the will to show up no matter what. I could tell from her mind map that her showing up was one of the most difficult things she could do, and yet she was doing it every day and helping so many people. And so now, she comes to us, and we went, intensive work for a week. And on the way out of the airport, I'm taking her to the airport, and I'm like, okay, don't make any changes. And all Elaine can do is giggle. I'm like, how you feeling? She just giggled, And what, you go, don't make any changes, and I'll follow up with you in like 2 or 3 days. And so Elaine goes back home, and I call her 2 or 3 days later. I said, okay, Elaine, how you doing? Well, Elaine sounded amazing. She knew exactly. You could tell just in the way her breathing changed. When you're breathing, it was incredible. And she said, well, I got home. I divorced my husband. I moved out. I changed my job. I decided to do like 3 other things. I said, don't change your life. I've never had this much clarity in my life. I know exactly what I'm doing. And we've been in touch ever since. And, Elaine's been really an inspiration to me. And I know I've had, you referred probably 50 people to us. And, Elaine's been a great mentor and guiding light for so many that you sent to us. So, Elaine, I just, always a pleasure. I just want to thank you again for coming on tonight. Why don't you kind of tell the beginning of the story on your end instead of my end?
Thank you so much, Jeff. Listen, this has been the most life-changing experience I think I could have ever had in my entire life. When I came to see you, and I remember just the droopiness of my face. Like, I think I looked 10 years older than I was. And I went through my whole life. I don't know if maybe many can relate to this, having suffered from depression and anxiety since childhood, and um, having an eating disorder since childhood. Everything in my life was just survival mode all of the time. And like you said, I still forged forward. So when I was an athlete, and again, I felt like a complete fraud because I was on the covers of magazines, I was on the Olympia stage, I was doing all these incredible things as an athlete because I physically was able to do the work. And granted, I had a great coach who happened to be my now ex-husband. He was my coach, trainer, nutritionist. He was there for me for 2 decades, essentially. And he picked me up off the floor every day, so to speak. And the depression was real. The anxiety was real. But when I would get off the stage or when I would finish a photo shoot, and being on a cover of a magazine and having all those magazine layouts was a really good feeling, but feeling like a fraud in the sense where I would go back to my room and shut the door after signing autographs at the Olympia and just cry because people didn't understand. No, I didn't fall off a cake. No, I didn't have that perfect life, and I was just charmed. I struggled every minute of the day with despair and hopelessness. And that's not something you can just think about and make it go away. This is a chemical imbalance, as you later explained to me. But when I came to you, I remember being pretty droopy and and you said, listen, here's what's happening with your frontal. And you told me how my brain was functioning after you did the mapping. And you said depression, anxiety, fear, paranoia. Uh, you have no idea why. So you try to attach it to things that are going on in your life, but it has nothing to do with the things that are going on in your life. And we can change it. And I remember saying, I'm not leaving till you change it because I can't live like this anymore. And so 8 days, 20 sessions, 3 sessions a day. And you said, listen, you're going to be awfully tired. I said, Jeff, I'm tired all of the time. I'm used to being tired. I'm not worried about being tired. I'm not worried about being sad, tired, whatever. Bring it on because it can't get any worse than what I've been living with. So, long story short, that I remember just a few days in coming back to the home of the people I was staying with, and I said, "Listen, I don't understand. There's something like right here in the in the pit of my stomach." I said, it just feels really flat. I don't know what's happening. And she said, Elaine, that's the absence of anxiety. And I clearly had never experienced not having anxiety. So every morning you wake up and you're just, I remember when cell phones came out. Okay. Now we're aging myself, but when cell phones came out and Terry said, no, we have to get cell phones, for the business and this and that. And I said, I don't want a cell phone. I don't want people to be able to call me. And the anxiety that I felt having anybody just be able to get a hold of me for any or no reason just freaked me out. So the anxiety was always there. The depression was there every day. I'm like, why do I have to be here? Why am I living and living, but not living? Because you really don't live when you have that brain. And so the experience with this new brain training and the 20 sessions that I did, I remember I felt a lot of anxiety at first after I was done. I think it took about a week to 10 days for my brain to settle down. But I remember looking out the window, that same window where I always felt no hope, desperation. And I thought to myself, is this what it feels like to want to live? It was a whole new window. It was a whole new world that opened up to me. And I actually experienced that wanting to live. And then, as you well know, after that, for about a year's period, I felt like I had been uncorked. I really felt like I got shot out of a cannon. I remember calling Jeff, you got to help me. I'm having a little too much fun out here. Like, it was just insane. I started living like I was 20 when I was actually 44 at the time of the that the treatment was complete. So I really felt like I missed out on my whole childhood, and I was just going to relive the whole thing all at once. And experiencing joy for the first time, it pretty much brings a tear to my eye every time I talk about it, because when you live your whole life with no joy, experiencing nothing but desperation and wondering why you're on this earth, that's a really sad existence. So all I can say, it was like they unscrewed my head and put a brand new head on my shoulders, and I'm it's just literally the most life-changing experience I've ever had.
Well, thank you, Elaine, for sharing all that. And we love our work, and you've been a great spokesperson for. Oh, well, real quick, let me say hi to Jennifer Kaminsky. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for tuning in. And Michael, what is the key to pathways, and what does to change your mindset? Wow, that's a big question, Michael. So we have cracked the code of consciousness. So when we take an EEG of somebody and go through some questions while we're doing the EEG, based on how the person responds, we can see how the nervous system is functioning. And from there, we've done enough correlative analysis with in-depth psychological analysis to be able to basically reverse engineer how a person's feeling based on their brain waves. And then we can be very, very precise on having the questions about the mindset. So when I see a neurological combination on that mind map, I say to Elaine, oh, Elaine, I see that you have depression. And a lot of times it's about your self-esteem, but it doesn't really make sense because it's down in the unconscious. And then that same imbalance pattern is not in the conscious area of the neural pathways. So I can tell that it doesn't make sense because her analytics, or the analytical part of her mind, didn't agree with her unconscious. So that's why Elaine couldn't make sense of it, because she was showing up, she was doing the work, and she was helping so many people, and yet her system kept telling her she shouldn't be alive. And sleep rejuvenates those neural pathways. So she was living those days building up just great self-respect and respect from others, and yet deep down her system wasn't buying into it. And so what we do is help the person understand that, which is a lot of the talking that Elaine and I did when she came in, and help her use the system to show herself, her nervous system, how it's functioning and how it's out of balance, and then guide herself to feel imbalance. In other words, celebrate, you know what, I do good work. That's why Elaine now says, you know what, I do good work. I mentor a lot of people.
That's a good point, Jeff. And in layman's terms, whoever's listening, when you don't know how you're going to feel different, but someone like Jeff and your team was so wonderful. You would tell me what I was supposed to think about for certain periods of time, and how to retrain my brain basically to have that sense of I'm worthy, I'm perfect the way I am. I don't need to prove anything to be the most worthy person on the planet, basically. So having you feed me those thoughts that you wanted me to think about while the session was happening really helped. And again, session after session, I would get out of that chair feeling a sense of entitlement that I'd never felt before. So obviously you were forming new neural pathways in my brain, and I was experiencing a new consciousness entirely.
Right. We live in our nervous system, and I wasn't putting it in your brain. I was helping you develop it. Like you develop the muscles by doing this. I'm not bad on it.
Nice.
And the same thing happens when we think certain thoughts. And so the computer system helps create the change neurologically inside of us based on that thinking pattern 10 to 100 times faster. And that's why you felt so much different, so much faster. Here's a name, Erica Frischman. Didn't you recommend her? That was back in 2009 or 10, if it's the same woman.
I may have.
Anyway, and Mary Lou Navamu. Hello, guys. Thanks for joining us. So we're talking about how Elaine is, well, so Elaine, today, how
Hi,
complete,
Jennifer Kaminsky. What's that?
tell us how full and complete your life is today.
Well, I'll tell you, every single piece of my life has changed. When I was growing up, I experienced my whole life zero self-esteem, uh, zero ability to have any confidence in myself. And that's what people in my industry don't understand is I had no sense of self. I was raised to not think anything of myself. I was raised to be seen and not heard. I was not allowed to have an opinion. So when you're raised like that, you just shut all that down, and you might be building up anger inside because you do believe that you should have an opinion, but nobody's allowed you to have an opinion. So having gone through this program,
Let me
sorry.
interrupt you real quick. I'm sorry. Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you real quick.
Yeah.
I just want to kind of make that go full picture.
Yes.
If you're not allowed to have an opinion, then you don't create the neural pathways to hold on to that, to be able to actually generate that opinion. Just like any skill, like when you're working out at the gym, if you're learning a new set or a new way to do a weight, you can't do it the first time because you've never done it. You don't have the nerves.
There's no connection, right? So for me to be lifting a weight and I'm not putting that mind to muscle connection, the muscles barely going to go through the motions. And that's essentially what the brain is doing then, going through the motions, but there's no real connection to make it become your own reality. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And so inside, you didn't know that your opinion counted. And we helped you develop that truth that you meant.
And the most rewarding or eye-opening experience is when I went back home and I was talking to my now ex-husband, who essentially he's actually still my best friend, people. So don't worry, everything's good. But he looked at me and he listened to me and he said, he just started crying. He said, "This is what I always wanted for you," because he could see that I had a sense of self and a sense of entitlement and belonging. And I never had that before. And he realized some things too. He said, "You mean to tell me that when you would be sitting there and I'd be, lecturing you or trying to pull something out of you," he said, "you weren't giving me the silent treatment. You actually didn't believe you were entitled to an opinion." And the light bulb came on in his head and he just started crying. He said, "I am so sorry that I was putting that on you and didn't realize that you couldn't even speak. And I didn't have an opinion. I had no entitlement to an opinion." Imagine you've got a toolbox and you open up your toolbox and there's no tools in there. Okay, so you can't even pull out a tool. And that's what my brain felt like. And so when in relationships we'd have arguments or discussions, I had no answers, I had no tools, and I had no sense of self because there was no connection in my brain to give me that. It's kind of hard to explain, but I think you just did. And once I was finished the program, I dared anybody to tell me that what I had to say didn't matter. It was overwhelmingly different. All of a sudden, these new connections in my brain and just like knowing who I was and having a sense of self and entitlement and feeling like I had so much to offer somebody. I had so much to offer my friends. I was a good person. I was a giving person. I literally started to really love myself. And that's something I couldn't even fathom before.
Yeah, so all those connections got to the heart and to the stomach instead of being all separated, right? Yeah, it all categorized,
right?
Safe, and now it's flowing all together, so you can feel those emotions of love.
Exactly,
you can express them.
It's amazing. And the longer I came to you, like, okay, so I would keep coming for tune-ups. You call them tune-ups, I guess. So every time I was in Miami, I would go visit Jeff and I would have maybe 2-3 sessions. because I just wanted to feel that balance, that new refreshed balance. And I kid you not, every time I got out of that chair, I felt even a stronger sense of myself and clarity beyond belief. I know people who are really involved in yoga, which I'm not, but when they talk about that third eye opening experience, I felt like that was the closest that I could describe what I was experiencing, is that third eye, complete clarity and balance.
And I think you mentioned to me physically that you actually were getting more oxygenated, so you're able to work out longer and attend to
When you have,
your
yeah,
sport longer.
exactly. When you have your brain screwed on straight in that sense, then you take that into every aspect of your life. So when I go to the gym and I want to be the best athlete I can be, first of all, I have a new sense of power in my new sense of self-confidence and entitlement. But you can also, you can talk to your cells, like you can talk to the cells in your body. You can get the most out of every single rep and every single set in the gym that you're going to do, and 110%, because you can be that focused, and you can connect with your body, your mind, your body. You can connect everything. It's truly a phenomenal thing as an athlete.
So you mentioned a few things. I mean, you keep talking about the brain. We're actually talking about the whole nervous system. So yeah, I mean, it's a good way
Yeah,
to
that's
describe it is the brain, but
mine
it's
is layman's terms. You're going to
yeah.
put it in more technical scientific terms.
And also a big part of our system and our process is to teach the tools of your empty toolkit of how to communicate, how to believe in yourself, how to interact with people without putting them on the defensive, how to be true to your heart. And we also help people find purpose. I mean, Elaine had purpose. I didn't really have to do that with you. I just had to help you get all of the areas of your nervous system and really all the systems of your body in line with the purpose that you had already were living, and be able to fully embody it at all levels of your life, which is phenomenal. And we've talked a lot about Terry. Can I say that he came to see us too, or
Yes, absolutely.
yeah? So I
I
mean,
sent my
no,
ex-husband. Yes.
that was another surprise. I'd seen picture of this big guy, that was Elaine's husband. About a month after Elaine had gone back home, I get a phone call. Hi, this is Terry Goodlad. I'm like, oh no.
Oh no, she divorced me.
He's like, what did you do to my wife? She left me. And
Right.
none of that happened. He was like, I have to tell you, the work you did with Elaine is amazing, and I want to come see you. And he came out, and I think he had I went through a huge life changing experience with him too. And so, this works for beautiful women like Elaine and big handsome guys like Terry. Well, I had no idea he's handsome. I don't have good taste in men.
Yeah.
Judging from the fact that you're with him.
Anybody who has had a challenging childhood, challenging life experiences, any kind of trauma, that you would basically say, yes, you definitely have PTSD. I had PTSD. You told me mine was just as strong or powerful as relative to someone who had gone off to war. And I didn't even understand that, because I thought my normal was just what all I experienced with, that was my normal. So I didn't know that it was even PTSD. And
Right.
Terry had a seriously horrific childhood, and then he went into law enforcement and SWAT team action, and there's just so many things that caused the damage in him, that really he needed a lot of healing as well. So he was very game to come and see you. And then his girlfriend, then later wife, I sent her in as well, and she's like a sister to me, and Terry's like a brother to me, even though we were married. It's a strange setup, but we all get along absolutely fantastic. And they've all, Anna had the exact same experience as me. She just relayed to me the other day. She said, Elaine, she said, there were things that I couldn't process or do or even sleep before I went to brain training centers of Florida. She goes, and after that, I could sleep soundly, and her life changed forever. And Terry, I know you already know what you did with Terry, whatever you did with Terry, and I know he probably wanted to get a few more sessions, but life got a little busy. But you've
I
changed a
want
lot
to
in my life.
Yeah, I want to circle back around to that. You said a few times. I don't want people to misunderstand it. You say when the program was over, and I like to say the program's
The
never over.
program's never over. After my first 20 sessions, it was
Yeah.
very good for me to just keep coming back and getting rebalanced.
Well, there's also room for improvement, right? I mean,
Oh,
things happen. We have new traumas, and there's new, actually, because we have so much more ability to live life, we get so full in our life that we're handling a lot of plates and handling a lot of responsibility. And so we have to learn some new tools and techniques to handle our new lives. And, this is an ongoing process, and I
that's a
highly
really
recommend.
good point, Jeff, because let me tell you, that first 20 sessions gave me kind of that fresh start. And then as I kept coming back, my ability to handle more and more and more without any anxiety. Like I can be flustered some days and go, oh my gosh, I've got so much on my plate today, but I can handle it.
All right.
If I knew anything about politics, I would tell you I could run for the president of the United States of America. That's how I feel inside. It's so overwhelmingly amazing to me. And I mean, I would venture to say I've had close to 50 sessions over this period of time.
Yeah,
And
10
so it's been
years.
a
Yeah,
12-year period. I
right,
probably had
right.
at least 50 sessions,
Yeah.
and it just keeps getting better. I am so good that I'm at the first point, and this a lot of women and men can probably relate to. I do not need to be in a relationship. I am so good on my own that even though I have some beautiful people in my life, I can choose not to be in a relationship. And that was a very, because when you deal with the insecurity and whatnot that I have dealt with in my life, having to have a relationship, having to have somebody that you feel is going to complete you, nobody needs to complete me. I am perfectly complete on my own. I've got my friends, I've got my family, so a lot of my friends are my family, but this has just been the most life-changing experience, I'm telling you. And even as I went further on, I elevated to new levels that I never even dreamed I could elevate to.
So Mary Lou Navamu is saying that she'd love it if we did a program for couples, and guess what? We do.
Yes,
And
I see that, Mary Lou.
that's a great idea. And yes, we help relationships incredibly. When you can move from trying out of a survival pattern, trying to get your spouse to fill a hole inside of you, when you can fill that hole yourself and then just show up for a loving relationship, everything changes. When you're not showing up because you need to, you're showing up because you want to enjoy living. That's a game changer in every area of life, but in relationship too. So
Yes,
thank you,
and
Mary
and
Lou, for the suggestion.
and relationships, I would highly recommend couples, come for this treatment. In my situation, it was my ex-husband now. And I mean, he'd even come on the program. He and his wife would actually come on the program with me, and we could do a whole podcast because they have also had life-changing experiences. And the way we all relate to each other, like we're a new family, it's really kind of bizarre. And I don't think we could have possibly done this without being rewired, so to speak.
Well, it's the world has changed so much, and yet our nervous systems really haven't. And we're still living. If you think about percentage wise of all the energy that you're creating, most people, about 85, 90% is that survival energy, that animal instincts and we're fear-based pack animals. They call our packs tribes. And so what happens is that we interact with people, and if they don't like fit perfectly into our animal idea of our tribe, we start to interact with tribal warfare. And we don't get to have that open, loving, it's all the things you're saying are to me, it's, I like it this way, so why not? right? In the old days, it was, oh, I got to survive. I got to follow the norm. I got to fit into the tribe, or it's just not going to work. And if I'm going to do that, well, you got to do that. And so, yeah, how do we live like that? You
Is
know,
that
and so
have to do with codependency as well?
yes, exactly. When it's a need to have the other person fill for
Right.
you,
Right.
that creates codependency.
Mhm.
And then in that is where the tribal warfare comes up. And so when you can get, like you keep saying, you know, I'm good, you know, I'm
I'm
happy,
good.
I feel complete, and let's have a great relationship, everything opens up. And
Exactly.
it's a beautiful part of what
You
happens
know,
here.
when you know that you're dependent on a thing or a person to survive, that's a very uh, helpless and hopeless feeling. And
Enslaving.
now I swear to you, um,
That's an
again,
enslaving. That enslaves us.
yes, I was enslaved by food. I was so
Oh, that's
obsessed with
right. That's
food. I
right.
thought of nothing more and nothing else, sorry, from morning till night. And then I had to be in a relationship. I felt like I had to have a relationship where I was going to die. I couldn't breathe without a relationship. Those are very horrible feelings when you feel like you really can't survive without that. And
Now you're
now
free.
I'm so free. My eating disorder was gone the second I was done. There was no longer a requirement for that coping mechanism. And that's a beautiful thing. I have to remind myself to eat, and I didn't even know who was talking inside of my brain with that message, you know? And so, yeah, everything changes, everything.
Right, because you know when we eat, it creates all these endorphins, and endorphins feel good. So if you're not feeling good and you're feeling empty and hollow and depressed, well, eating helps that not be so bad.
But
And
it was
so
never fulfilling.
when we help you fulfill it on your own and create that joy without having to eat, then you don't need to eat like that anymore. It's kind of simple, right? It's just
Yeah.
not easy. In
Yeah.
fact, it's almost impossible. However, here at Pathways, we have pretty much 100% success ratio with eating disorders.
What I've been sharing with people is that um, a 2-hour session when I was doing this initially was equivalent to about a year of psychotherapy. People can't wrap their heads around how you can start forming new neural pathways in a matter of 2 hours that would take a year to solve otherwise. That's what people need to know is this is like the Cadillac version of neuro pathways health. It's just incredible.
Yeah, so it's 2020, right? So we're using today's technology. We're using neurotechnology to speed up how fast you create neural pathways from 10 to 1,000 times faster than you can on your own. And I mean, why not? It's time, right? 2020 is about.
If I had known about this, Jeff, so many years ago, I mean, part of me when I woke up at 44 and just started living, I was angry.
Yeah.
Because where were all those other years I can't get back? And I thought, okay, Elaine, just stop, breathe. You're now living. You have to just move forward. And I want people to know, don't waste any time. This is the most incredible thing you'll experience. And everybody has something. You might need 5 sessions or you might need 50 sessions, whatever it is. The program is going to be right for you and it's going to help you get through whatever it is you need to get through. And I just highly recommend it to everybody.
Well, thank you. I think you're right. I think it's time for everybody to get liberated from the enslavement that's been caused by COVID and the society and, you know, the crazy media and everything that's just being shoved down our throats, you know, and it's fantastic. I feel very blessed to know you and to have been able to work with you, and I really appreciate it. And I just want to say, for the time you lost, now that you're coming to see me every year and you keep coming in, you're going to live an extra 40 years. So.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're right. So
you're going to gain that time
because I'm going to live longer. Definitely.
Exactly.
Definitely.
So you're going to recoup all that. All that anxiety, stress would have, caused some kind of issue for you that would have ended your life early.
you guys, the way you do things at your particular place, um, I know that this program is offered probably in every state in the country, but the way you guys do it is just so phenomenal. And I felt like you really, really cared. I felt like we become friends, and not just because our birthdays are on the same day, but I feel like we become friends. And my happy place, if I had to think about where's my happy place, it's sitting in that chair in that office getting healed. That's become my new happy place. So I love coming back and seeing you guys. You literally have become, in a sense, my family with what you've helped me with.
Well, thank you. I just want to clarify. So, about two-thirds or a half of what we do is available in every state. At the level we are doing it, this is the only place in the world.
Exactly. Oh yeah, no, that is true. That is true.
So,
And I did send some people who could not come to you, and they came in Las Vegas. They did not get the same. They did not get the same treatment. It was it was futile to me to send them anywhere else but you. I actually won't do it because I don't know who these other people are. I don't know what their ability is, what their capability is, and I know that you guys have taken the program to a whole new level, levels that nobody else can even understand how quickly it works on the brain. So, and the near, sorry, your entire body and how it actually connects to everything. You, my friend, are a genius.
well, thank
You
you.
have to be.
Yeah.
He goes,
So,
yeah, I am.
well, look, and so are you. So let's enjoy that.
I am
Part of what we
now.
do,
No, I'm kidding.
part of what we do is unlock that inner genius that we all have. And I was not a genius before I started doing the work on myself. So,
You had
and
an incredible story too, and I was really interested to hear your story. So, yeah, healing you the way you did, it's just remarkable the changes you've had in the trauma you've experienced, and everybody in your office. I think everybody had the same types of issues at some point. So,
well, and it's a great segue. I have a book coming out in the first quarter of next year. So keep your eyes open for that. And it'll be telling my story and the story of how we built neuroempowerment pathways and helped so many people.
neuro empowerment, I like that.
Yes, that's what we call our program, neuroempowerment.
Awesome.
So, thank you so much tonight. Anything you want to add, or I don't see any other questions.
No, just to round it up, I just think that I want people to know, because I, for one, when I sit in front of an audience of women and they want to know, they actually think that it's just I live this blessed life because they saw me in the magazines. What I want people to know is I was a very troubled child from probably the age of 2 on into my adult life. This affects every aspect of your life. My athletic capability, my ability to run my own business, my ability to have a sense of worth and entitlement, and relationships, eating disorders, it literally permeates every single aspect of your life because you can connect in the right way to your body with your mind. Everything starts to connect and fire correctly. And there's not an area of my life that this has not affected. And I can't say enough about it. Everybody has to go.
Well, speaking of which, why don't you real quick plug your businesses? What business do you
Oh
have?
yes.
Yeah, because
So
you have more
I
than one.
obviously I do a lot of hair and makeup. I'm in the IFBB NPC. I no longer compete in the industry, but I'm a hair and makeup artist. So I'm official artist for many different shows. So if you want to get a hold of me for makeup for any of your competitions, it's Elaine Makeup at hotmail.com. You can check out my Instagram at Elaine Goodlad. You can check out, we've got a wonderful clothing line called Blessed Bodywear. Please check it out. You will never wear more comfortable clothing in your life. Instagram, again, it's at Blessed Bodywear. So, yeah. Thank you, Mary Lou. Um,
Thank you,
those are my
Maria.
businesses, but email me anytime, any questions, any feedback. I'm available to talk to all of you. Elaine Makeup at hotmail.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And for Pathwaves, you can go to pathwaveslife.com. And we're on all the social media outlets. You can go to YouTube. We have lots and lots of testimonials. Elaine has shot a few, and everywhere you look, we're 5 stars. And the testimonials pretty much all say stuff like Elaine is saying, life changing. I know who I am now. I get to live the life of my dreams now. So please come join us.
That is so amazing. Yes.
So, well, Elaine, thank you so much. It looks like it's starting to get dark. Where are you now?
In Las Vegas.
Ah, okay. Well, I'm in Miami, so.
So it's 5 here. It's 8 o'clock there.
May the optimal frequencies be with you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Good night.